Located at 547 East Circle Drive in East Lansing, Michigan, nestled on the north end of Michigan State University's ivy-covered campus and overlooking the busy Grand River Avenue, stands the Eli and Edythe Broad Art Museum.
Better known as just the Broad, the Contemporary Art Museum doesn't exactly fit in with the rest of the college campus. It's easily identifiable, both from Circle Drive and Grand River Avenue, largely because it's so unlike anything else in the general region, area, heck, even the state and the nation.
But it's the innovative design that makes it so unique and such a sought-after spot on campus, both among students and members of the general public.
It was designed by the late world-renowned architect Zaha Hadid, who earned a reputation throughout her career for designing the Unbuildable.
And suffice to say that the Broad was not without its construction challenges, so much so that the State News, Michigan State's student newspaper, reported that many contractors were afraid to even bid on it.
It's worth noting that 2022 marks the 10-year anniversary since the Broad opened its doors, and Michigan State is planning various events and celebrations throughout the year to mark the milestone. Utilizing goats to clear vegetation on a steep hillside to save on manpower and ensure safety. We've done that. Watching a world-renowned architect crumble up a piece of paper and tell you that's how they want their building to be designed. We've been there too. Ever envision a bricklaying robot or material lift unit assisting laborers with the building? No, it's not something out of the Terminator. We've done that on our projects. Every project has a great story. With over 2,000 team members and more than 97 years of experience in the construction industry, we at Barton Malow have more than a few to tell that don't fit the usual industry coverage. I'm Eric Fish.
And I'm Rob Riley.
And we're both Barton Malow team members and the hosts of this podcast. We're going to be bringing you the untold stories from the job site, the weird, the wild, and the unconventional paths to success. It's construction, but it's said differently. Welcome back to Said Differently. In this episode, we're going to cover the design and construction of the Broad Art Museum.
So let's start by focusing a bit more on the design and how this project was conceived. Our first guest is Dan Bollman, the Vice President for Strategic Infrastructure Planning and Facilities at Michigan State University.
Dan, can you start by just talking about how this building came to be?
Sure. It was really interesting how this building came about because, back in 2007 when we started thinking about it, a new art museum was not even on our radar as far as needs for the institution at the time. But we had a benefactor named Eli Broad who had given money in the past to our College of Business, and he was always interested in art. And so our president approached him about maybe providing funds to upgrade our Kresge Art Museum. That's kind of like your typical university art museum with a large historical collection, but nothing really that stands out. And he basically politely declined and said, "No, thanks. That's not really the vision I'm looking for. But there's a lot of things you could do with a new building, and if you're interested in that, come back and talk to me." So that kind of got the dialogue going to a point where our president thought about it and said, "Well, let's kind of pitch a new building." And one of the things that Broad was really interested in is something that not only could transform our campus, but also the community around it.
I know that there was a pretty thorough vetting process to settle on an architect, and eventually that architect was Zaha Hadid. Just what was your initial reaction when you saw some of the first concepts from Hadid?
Sure, and I can say the process was very interesting and very new to us, I should say the process was very interesting and new to the planners at Michigan State, myself included, because we were used to working locally and coming up with very traditional type projects for campus. And with Mr. Broad involved, we were all of a sudden thrust on the world stage. And his criteria was, an international award-winning architect, design that really stood out and was nothing like we would have ever seen on campus. So with that as the criteria, we came up with a competition where we vetted a whole bunch of architects and reduced the list to about 5. And what came out of that was 5 of the most unique and creative solutions I've ever seen for an art museum. I mean, they were just off the wall as far as, one looked like a whale and one looked like it was floating in the trees. And the Zaha project really stuck out, the model, because it looked like a spaceship that kind of just landed on our campus. It was shimmering, it was angular, it was just something very intriguing. when I saw that. And my first thoughts were, wow, that's really cool. I don't know how the heck you would ever build something like that.
Right.
And another interesting part was the selection. Mr. Broad insisted that it be a board. We put together a board to select the architect from a wide range of industry professionals. So we had folks like Michael Govan, who was the CEO of the Los Angeles County Art Museum, Mr. Chan, who was on Frank Gehry's staff and was working on the Guggenheim in Bilbao, Spain.
Wow.
A Richard Koszalek, who was another well-known art museum director in New York. So there was a lot of really kind of heady people there helping us go through that selection, and they talked a lot about the art characteristics and things, that made truly great architecture and great art. At the same time, a lot of our staff, and really our board of trustees wasn't involved, but a lot of our staff, we kind of brought the practical aspect in and said, okay, how's it going to fit on our campus? How would we maintain this? How do we build it? That kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it was really how do we make a sort of a stunning statement for our campus that will be practical, but will also, serve the art community for years to come.
Was it Mr. Broad who made, I guess, the final call on the design?
So that was interesting. Clifton Wharton was a past president, and his wife was actually on the panel as well. So we had all these panelists. We kind of filed into a room, and then several staff. And there was just a long debate about the pros and cons of each one. Actually, Mr. Broad initially suggested a different firm, and more debate ensued. And at the end of the day, they reached consensus on the Zaha selection. And I should say, part of the vetting process, we not only went to their office in London, but we went throughout Europe and toured some of Zaha's work. So we were in Spain and Italy and Germany. I call it the Great European Road Trip, but we kind of jet hopped from one site to another to look at some of her buildings. One was a new auto manufacturing plant that she had built. Another one was a bridge pavilion over a river in Spain. A lot of different types of architecture, just so we could kind of get a feel for what some of her work was.
So how did students and other visitors react once they visited the structure?
It was really cool to just sit back and watch people because, you saw a lot of wide eyes. People really weren't sure how to interact with the structure or the galleries inside. It was just so different than what we typically see here in the Midwest. So people were excited. You got a lot of weird descriptions. It looks like a spaceship. It looks like a Mercedes. It looks completely out of place. Why did they put it here? But at the end of the day, there was also a lot of people who embraced it, that it was something really interesting for our campus that we'd never had before. I know the museum has quickly become a campus icon. So you think about the Sparty statue and Beaumont Tower and maybe Spartan Stadium. Now the Broad Art Museum is right there on that list. So they do walk a lot of prospective students by there, and they talk about how this is another example of how MSU is not only a huge national institution, but it's really on the world stage when it comes to art and things like that.
The Broad piqued the interest of Hollywood, serving as the set piece in 2016's Batman vs. Superman film. Just curious if you can discuss how that came to be and what role you played, I guess, if any, in making it happen.
I got a call from our president one day, and she said, hey, I just approved the use of the art museum for a Batman movie. I need you to go over there and make sure they don't screw up our building. So that was the call, from her to kind of get engaged.
Anything else that you can think of, I guess, about this project or Barton Malow in general?
Yeah, I really wanted to work that into the conversation, to tell you the truth. So, one of the great things with working with Barton Malow is their ability to collaborate with us as owners, work with the various subcontractors, and work with the architects to really pull together and create a strong team that can deliver projects. And Barton Malow's been doing that for us on our campus for many, many years. And the Broad Art Museum is just a shining example of how they were able to take a very, very tough project and build the team that was necessary to make it happen.
Again, Dan, hey, we really appreciate your time. We know you're busy, and so thanks again for jumping on with us and talking about the Broad Art Museum.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
For the record, I think the official position of Said Differently for Best Batman is either Christian Bale or Michael Keaton. Anyway, back to building the Broad.
Zaha Hadid Architects won the design competition that Michigan State held. And fitting to its reputation for building the unbuildable, the Broad certainly pushed architectural boundaries and challenged conventional construction practices. Characterized by slope steel and concrete with a pleated metal and glass exterior, construction of the museum was far from typical.
To talk a bit more about navigating the complicated design and construction of the Broad, let's bring in Craig Kiner from Zaha Hadid Architects and Barton Malow project executive Kara Martini. The two coordinated closely throughout the project, and this podcast actually marks the first time in several years since they've connected. Call it a Broad reunion, if you will.
It's Craig Kiner.
Hey, Craig.
Hi, Kara.
Long time. How are you doing?
Yeah, very long time. Yeah, okay. Yeah, surviving.
That's all you can ask for.
I feel like that's all of us, right? We're all just trying to survive through this crazy world we live in.
So I guess if we could jump right into it, if you wouldn't mind just, maybe giving us your title and role on the Eli and Edythe Broad Art Museum.
My name's Craig Kiner. I'm Associate Director here at Zaha Hadid Architects. For the Broad Art Museum, I was Project Director with a number of kind of other members of the team that were supporting kind of the project architect and the overall team.
So if you could, Craig, could you just talk a little bit about, where did the design inspiration come from for the Broad?
Originally, the design for the Eli and Edythe Broad Art Museum was influenced by the landscape and the movement around the site, the activity along Grand River Avenue, and the routes between the town and the university, the campus, that generated a network of movement paths and what we defined as kind of visual connections between the two. Conceptually, the building was comprised of these alternating solid and glazed folds that would allow natural light to penetrate all the spaces throughout the building. And that dialogue of these interconnecting kind of geometries described a series of spaces that offered kind of what we call an array of adjacencies, which allowed many different interpretations when designing the exhibition, designing the kind of the space, curating the space. But equally, we wanted to create a new gateway and landmark at the northern edge of the campus, which ended up being a silver foil to both the artistic and academic life of the university, and as a community resource, a shared kind of educational and cultural facility for both the university and for the town of East Lansing.
So with this international design competition, your architectural firm is obviously located across the pond. What was the coordination like throughout the duration of this project?
In one word, I would say it was fluid. We've delivered projects around the world, and kind of the common language is always a benefit, where we don't have that benefit in some places. But design is an investigation, and it's a process, and it's driven by many things, including kind of our ambition, client's ambition, the pragmatics of construction and engineering, the construction schedule, the design schedule, along with the construction schedule, the capability, and of course budget. But we had a really good team. We had a great team, and one can't deliver an amazing project without a wonderful team.
Can you talk a little bit about the partnership with Barton Malow? And maybe, Kara, you can speak a little bit to this. Can you just talk a little bit about how that went, Craig, and the collaboration with Barton Malow, just to, again, bring this building to completion?
So we worked with Barton Malow from that early stages of design. I think that process and that relationship with Barton Malow was both professional and, I think, contributory, complementary to everyone. I think that there was that respect between all of us, and we were all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I think Craig really hit it on the head. I think our team really is what made the project so successful. I mean, it was all of us working together. It was definitely a challenging project, but because all of us were on the same page and we were able to communicate with each other, despite all the challenges, I think we can all look back and look at the relationships that we had and think very positively on them. And really, ultimately, that is what helped make this project what it was for all of us, I think, at the end of the day.
So what's the role of the architect, I guess, after finalizing the design? Did you stay involved throughout the entirety of the project?
Generally, in the U.S., and for us, our involvement is from the earliest stages through completion. What our involvement on the road was, it was continuous, and I think that's both compliments to our client, Michigan State, and all the kind of the construction team. But I just kind of thinking about that, there was one point in that procurement of the kind of the contracting kind of elements, where there was a presentation event that was held where potential contractors were invited to basically introduce them to the building and understand what the ambition was. And we joined the event and made it clear to the audience that, and I think as well, Barton, Malow, and MSU did as well, that the contractors will be challenged by the building, perhaps further than they've ever been done before on some things.
Yeah, I agree. I think every package that went on the street, every work scope, it was identified up front to everybody that was going to be part of this project, that there was a vision. It was going to be pushing the boundaries of materials that, not necessarily have been used in that manner, especially here in the United States. And so everybody that was interested in even participating in this job had to have that understanding up front that this was going to be a very challenging project. And we were looking for those partners that were going to share our vision here at the end of the day.
I think that's super interesting. It's like, just presenting that up front and like, hey, either get on board or kind of get out. Did you guys have anybody that said, no, thanks, this isn't for me? Do you remember that? Or did you have anyone that was, maybe even on the opposite end of the spectrum that were like super excited to really kind of test the limits and see, how far they could push the boundaries with some of this design?
I think there was both. And I think there was some members that did walk out, but I think they were very few. And that the people that did stay, I think they understood, either they didn't believe us, right, which could have been the case, but I think once they kind of understood and tendered and went through the presentation, that they understood what the challenges would be, and kind of thought within themselves, what are the benefits for us?
There was definitely a lot of excitement around this project and wanting to be involved in that and to be able to say, hey, I helped build the Broad Art Museum. And I think that ultimately was a big driver for a lot of folks in the contractor world to just want to be a part of it and be there to the end to see what it looks like and just be part of that kind of vision.
Can you talk about, Zaha and maybe her reaction to the final product, or maybe can you speak at all to any of her, emotions or reactions that were taking place during the build?
It was a special building for her. I think for many reasons. A museum was a way, a museum and a gallery is a way to bring kind of culture and art to the community, to a much wider community. It isn't something that is only for the reserve of kind of the privileged, as it were. So to create a facility that is both for an academic environment of Michigan State University, as well as a community resource, was one of the kind of the best gifts that we can offer as architects or as designers to the community.
Well, I just want to say it's really good to hear your voice almost 10 years after the fact. It's been a long time.
I kind of second that. It's been a long time, and the collaboration was really good. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
And good to hear from you, Cara.
Yes. Take care, Craig. We'll continue the chatter through email.
Okay, perfect. Take care, everybody.
All right,
Take
bye.
care.
Thank you. And finally, we want to dedicate this episode of Said Differently to the memory of Eli Broad, Zaha Hadid, and our former Barton Malow team member, Tim Webster. All three played a significant role in bringing the world-class art museum from concept to end product.
And that's all we have for episode 3 of Said Differently. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and share. We'll catch you back here soon for more of the untold stories from the job site.
Said Differently is a Barton Malow podcast. Visit broadmuseum.msu.edu for additional information and updates on exhibits and events. Admission to the museum is free.
Visit ZahaHadid.com for more information on Zaha Hadid Architects and to browse other buildings throughout the world that the company's designed. Visit BartonMallow.com for additional information and to listen to previous episodes of Said Differently.
This is Said Differently, a Barton Malow podcast.